The Williamson County real estate market is giving us a clear sign this spring, and we're going to talk about that here in just a second. But I'm John Turner. I'm the team lead of the Turner Victory team at Onward Real Estate. We bring this Williamson County real estate report to you every week, and we've got some really good data for you this week. So without further ado, let's jump into that. Let me get over here to my charts. Right now, the Turner Victory team has a market health score of 50 for the Williamson County real estate market. And this includes a lot of local data. We bring in some bigger indicators, and also we look at some demand signals as far as like mortgage applications, things of that nature. So we pull all that in. We have a formula we use, and then we put our market health score on it, and it is 50. Now, as we look at this and we break it down by price point, first of all, currently there's 1,342 homes on the market in Williamson County. This represents a 3.76 month supply. What is month supply? Month supply means if nothing new comes on the market and the demand stays the same, it will take 3.76 months for all that inventory to go under contract. Now, you and I know that that's not the way things work, but it's a good gauge of how the market is doing. Now, we break these price points down for you. We have it under 500,000, then we have the 500,000s, the 600,000s, the 7s, 8 to a million, and you can see that over here. What are the blue lines? The blue lines, the NC, that's new construction. So we like to look at what percentage of those price points are new construction too, because that's just a good way to keep up with what's going on. As a matter of fact, if you look across the board, across the 1,342 active inventory, almost 31% of that is new construction. On this category, this is not new construction where it says new, it's new listings at the top. So 129 new listings this week, 37% of those were new construction. 112 homes went under contract this week, but only 14% of those were new construction. And then on the close, the 74 homes that closed this week, 32% of those were new construction. So 61 homes came off the market. They didn't sell for whatever reason, so they were pulled off the market. And you can see below 800,000, and really over here in the million to 1.5 million as well, our month supply is under 3 months, which is slanted towards a seller's market. Anything you see in the orange or yellow, depending on which colors you see, that's the 4, 5, and 6 months range. That's more of a balanced market. Then once we start getting above the 3 million threshold, we've got 10-month supply, which is definitely a buyer's market there. So let's look at these charts and see how they break down. First of all, when we look at the active inventory, and we are paying attention to this year is the orange line. So our active inventory, 1,342 homes on the market. If we compare that to last year, there's, if I can get it right there, 1,106 homes on the market. So a lot more inventory this year than we had last year. A lot of this is residual because we really built up over here over the summer last year. As a matter of fact, the sales over the summer were down quite a bit. So I don't know that we brought in as much inventory or that much more inventory, but our sales were down. So all that was impacted. If you look at our month supply, you can see that ever since, the third or fourth week of the year, it's been a steady increase. When we started out the year, we were at 2.9 month supply, 9.5 month supply, which is just a little bit above last year. Now we're seeing a little bit of gap form. As I said, we're starting to see some pretty clear signals here. Currently, we have 3.76 month supply versus what was 3.1 last year. So we want to pay attention to that. Interestingly enough, though, our new listings, if you look at the orange line, we're bringing in less new listings this year by quite a bit over last year. As a matter of fact, this week we brought in 129 new listings. Last year, it was 239. So 110 less new homes hit the market this week than they did this time last year. So that's very interesting. The other interesting thing is pendings, our pending home sales. And I know there's a lot of lines here, but I think it's important to kind of look at them. The orange right here, we had 112 pending home sales. Well, in 2025, there was 123, so a slight difference there. Definitely up over, I shouldn't say definitely up over 2024 and slightly up over 2025. Now, where this is real interesting is this big jump we saw last year. I'm not sure why we saw that jump. Will we see a jump this coming week? I don't know. It will be very interesting to see what happens. Have I said it'll be very interesting? So, all right, let's look at our monthly closings. Right now, for March, we have 292 closings across Williamson County. Now, all our data from last week's not in yet, plus we have a couple more business days in for the rest of the month. So next week we'll look at exactly where we ended up. But 292 closings versus 423 this time last year. I don't know that we're going to surpass what we did last year. That's a long stretch. It may happen, but I don't see us getting close to that. In February, we had 283 closings versus 284 last year. So pretty much right on target. And if you look at January of last year, 266 versus 256 this year. So January and February, we were real close to last year. March, we'll see next week, but I'm not real hopeful we're going to get that close to it. If you look right now across quarterly closings, 831 closed this quarter so far versus 973. So we need 140 more closings over the next couple of days to reach what we did the first quarter of last year. Let's scroll on down because I want to look at our active inventory. The most active inventory, the most units we have are in the 1 million to 1.5 million. We have nearly 250 homes on the market right there. That's followed closely by the 800 to 1 million price point. And then we look at our relist by price range. I really like looking at it here as a percentage of the market. 37% of all the homes in the 800 to a million price range have come off the market and gone back on the market. And that's usually because they did not have success selling. So either they pulled it off, changed their pricing strategy and put it back on. They may have changed their agent. They may have, no telling, but you don't pull a house off the market, generally speaking, if you were having success and if you were getting the showings you wanted. So 37% there, 32, almost 33% in the 700,000s. But right here's our 25%, and you can look at that line. Almost every price point has seen over 25% of the homes come off the market and go back on the market. 37064, definitely our highest zip code as far as sales go. There have been 241 sales this year in that price point or in that zip code versus 121 in 37027. Our true days on the market, we've talked about this before. The MLS has days on the market, but what we do at the Turner Victory team is we go back and look at the original listing. And we call original listing if it was on the market and there was not a 60-day gap between it going off the market and coming back on the market. So we figure that's a relist. That's where it's a pricing. You pull it off to change pricing strategy, maybe pull it off because you want to do some painting or something. You just figured out your initial strategy was not working to get that house sold. So you pull it off, you bring it back on. And in your lower price ranges, as you would expect, there's not a whole lot of difference. But you start getting some of these higher price points. And it looks like in the 2.5 to 3 million price point, there's a 45-day, it takes 45 days to sell. Really, we're seeing 71 days whenever we look at the entire data, not just a snapshot of it. So we just figure that helps our sellers out and our buyers out too, because if you're a buyer and you know a house has been on the market before, they've reduced the price, it may change up your strategy a little bit. Anything above $1 million at the price point, you're going to have 2.5 or less showings per week. Anything below that, you're really looking at 3 to 5 showings per week, depending on where you are here. So hope that sets the proper expectations for you when you're thinking about your showings. New construction right now, almost 31% of all the active inventory is new construction. Under contract is almost 46%. Now you got to remember, you go under contract and you're usually under contract for several months. So that does not mean that 45% of all sales are new construction. As a matter of fact, if you look for the last 6 months, just under 30% of all home sales in Williamson County were new construction. And you can see that by the different price points here. We won't go over that a whole lot. What I do want to look at is, what are your odds of selling? If you are a seller in Williamson County, what chance do you have of selling your home? Well, over the last 6 months, if you look at this middle column right here, you had a 39% chance of selling. So that means 4 out of every 10 homes in in Williamson County sold. But that means 6 out of 10 did not sell. So 6 out of 10 homes in Williamson County over the past 6 months that were on the market did not sell. And you go back and look at 12 months. Your 12 months odds are a little bit better. The 3 months odds, just the way we calculate it, I would expect those numbers to be a little bit lower. But with that said, homes come on the market and go right off the market because they're priced right, they're presented right, they're promoted right. So if you do that, you do have a chance to sell pretty quickly, and we've got some information on that for you as well. What are the buying patterns for Williamson County? This looks back the past year, the past year. But if you look at May, June, and July, those are the darkest blue months. Those are the highest months of sales. So if you're a seller and you're trying to get your home sold, you're coming up on traditionally what are the 3 best months. Now, these are for closings. So if you're trying to get a May closing, that means you probably need to be under contract in April. Well, we're almost into April. So you really only have about 30 days to actually get that home under contract and get it closed in May. So if your strategy is not working, you may want to rethink your strategy if your goal is to hit these markets right here in these certain months. It's, whether it's working or not. So don't be stubborn about it. Don't think this is COVID. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on if you're a seller and how quickly you can sell based on certain things, or how long it may take you to sell. So we will get to that in just a second. But first of all, we want to talk about the mortgage rates. Mortgage rates did, and this is the 30-year. Your rate may be different. This is just a real good gauge for us to look at because the federal government puts this out every week. And as of Thursday, because they put this data out on Thursday, February 26th, the average mortgage rate, 30-year mortgage, was 5.98%. The first time we'd been below 6% in several years. Well, things happen in the Middle East, and then you have oil prices going up, you have gas prices going up, you have these inflation concerns. And even though the Fed did not change their rate, remember the Fed is the interest rate, it's not the mortgage rate. Mortgage is impacted by a lot of other things than just what the Fed does. But you've seen that go up, and as of Thursday, it was at 6.38%. And that's real buying power that is affected by buyers. For every percent that the mortgage rate goes up, a buyer loses 1% or 10% buying power. So it went up 0.5% almost. So a buyer lost about 5% buying power. So on a $1 million home, they lost $50,000 buying power just with that rate going up right there on average. So it's something to keep in mind. Whenever you're thinking about pricing your house, or if you're buying a home, you need to make sure, if you haven't talked to your lender in the past couple of weeks, you need to talk to your lender to really make sure that you're still approved for what you thought you were approved for, because that certainly can impact you. Looking at a few other little tidbits, it's taken 89 days to get under contract right now versus 64 days this time last year. So it's taken 39% longer to go under contract in Williamson County. Believe it or not, almost 31% of the homes in Williamson County are selling the first week they're on the market, even with these stats right here. So what you've got is people who have priced correctly, and that's the biggest thing you can do, okay? Price your home correctly. But the people who have priced correctly, they've presented it correctly. That means they're not telling buyers you have to overlook this scratched up walls, or these floors that are scratched up, or just a messy house, or bad landscaping, or whatever it is, but they're actually getting their house ready. Remember, we talked about you're competing against new construction. A large percentage of the market is new construction. So whenever someone goes to look at new construction and then they come out and they look at your house, does your house feel like new construction? Because it needs to. That's who you're competing against. So if you're presenting it correctly and you and your agent are promoting it correctly, then you have a 31% chance that house is going to go under contract that first week. But if it does not, and you have to reduce the price, put it this way, any home that did not have to have a price reduction went under contract in 42 days in Williamson County. But if you had to have a price reduction, it took 94 days to go under contract. So that is a 52-day penalty in Williamson County if you have to reduce your price. That just tells you, and we talked about earlier, that the market is really talking to us. And the market is saying, sellers, you need to price your house correctly. You need to present it correctly, and you'll get it sold. If you do not do it, you have a greater than 50% chance that you will not sell that house. So the market is screaming at us. What does this mean for buyers? Buyers, you finally have a little bit of breathing room, okay? We can think back to the past few years where it was just rush, got to make a decision. That's not the case right now. Now, really good homes, presented right, priced right, they are still going to go quickly. But you have time to sit back, to think. You have more inventory. You have more choices. So, in many ways, it's a lot better time to be buying right now than it has been the past 2 or 3 years. Obviously, the mortgage rates, even though they've crept up a little bit, they still are lower than what they have been for a while. You've got some more inventory. You have more choices. You have more room to negotiate. There's a lot more sellers now that are starting to get motivated. So that's really promising if you're a buyer looking to buy in Williamson County. I hope y'all have left some comments. If you have, we will cover those next week. We do enjoy bringing you this information every week. You can certainly go look at this information on our website, or if you want this emailed to you, because I do email this information out every week, please just email me at John, it's John, at turnervictory.com. John at turnervictory.com, and just say, hey, I want your Williamson County list, and I will put you on that. Make sure you get these every week. Again, we enjoy bringing this to you every week. And until next week, I hope you go out and make it a great week, and tune in next week for more information. Thank you.